Hey y'all, CB here at NBS Welding once again. What we got going on is got some trailers to fix. So there's actually two trailers here to fix, but there's one in front of the other. So let's take a look what we got. This is going to be the first one right here. He's first on the list, and not real hard to see what our problem is right here. We got a little corrosion issue. Oh, look what Jamie done. He wrote on here, replace. Replace. All right then, let's replace it. My buddy Jamie didn't ask me to do anything to this other ramp, but we'll take a look at her. A lot of real loose mesh. We can tack that down. This cross member is about gone. He never told me to replace that, and he didn't write replace on it like he was so generous to do on the other pieces that obviously needed replaced. You see here, this is rusted through and cracked. This bottom piece is not original. And if you look at the radius on this, you can tell by looking at the radius on this tube. This is a way thicker tube. I can tell by looking at the radius that what they put on here was a 3/16. When Jamie was telling me that the bottom tube of his ramp that the hinge connected to on the one side, that other ramp, was rusted out, I was originally thinking of using 3/16 to replace it. And when I got his cut apart, I saw that the rest of it's 14 gauge. So I put 1/8 on it. 1/8 is 11 gauge. It's considerably thicker than what you have there. And if you're adding 3/16 to 14 gauge, you're really wasting material, because the 1/8 is quite a bit stronger than what you got there. I put 11 gauge. I welded 11 gauge on that one that it's got 14 gauge that's rusted out on it. So if you got rusted out 14 gauge, the 11 gauge that you're adding is way better. Adding 3/16 would just be a waste of material. Another thing that's interesting on this, when somebody added the 3/16, they did a goof right here, because they welded all the way around this and made a seal weld from this tube to this tube. But this tube is obviously not sealed, because this tube has filled up with water and froze. That crack you see running up and down the tube right there, that crack is a result of that tube filling up with water, and that ramp sat that way for a long time in the winter. It froze and it busted the tube. The water expanded and busted the tube. So, like I said, he didn't tell me to do anything to this other ramp, but I'm just gonna do davity patch on it a little bit, because he didn't tell me to do nothing to it, but it's in bad shape, and ain't nothing I'm gonna do to it that's gonna hurt it. How much better it's going to make it, I don't know. I ain't going to waste a whole lot of time, but I need to try to do something with it. I said he didn't mark replace on any of these pieces on this other ramp, and I was wrong. Look here. He did write replace on that piece. So let's replace that piece. We'll put some other tubing here with it too. Help brace it up some. I was talking about this freezing and busting, and I just turned this up on its side. Look here. So there's still water in that center tube, and what I'll end up doing is poking a hole in the bottom of that, so that instead of trying to keep the water out at this point, I'm going to poke a hole in it so it's got somewhere to go to get out. got those put back on there, and everything back here is looking real good. He'll get some more life out of this, but this trailer, you know, you don't want to do too much to it. I'm seeing a lot of 14 gauge tubing here that you know, you look right here. This is one of the side rails, and it's rusting through. But he'll get some life out of it yet. He had this latch. He had it screwed on there, and he told me he wanted it welded. Put that on there and welded it. The roll pin in here, that was about gone, that roll pin, and I replaced it with a cotter pin. And the way I replaced it with a cotter pin, I also added this stopper to hold that back. The cotter pin doesn't work to hold it back as good as the roll pin, but I've had a lot of them roll pins come out, so I think we'll give a cotter pin deal a try. It might be better, because I've had a lot on those type of latches. That roll pin's often a problem. And then I was talking to him on the phone. We were talking about if there's anything else, and he was mentioning that this tube on this side ramp was bad. He said he doesn't use the side ramp very often. And I know, since all the hinges are welded to it, all the vertical pieces are welded to it, and the mesh is welded to it, if you wanted to replace that tube, it's a lot of work for one thing. And for another thing, he never mentioned it before, so I didn't get a 1x2 tube. I don't have one. I couldn't replace that if I wanted to. So what I ended up doing, I realized that the top side of that tube and the bottom of it was pretty good. It's basically the way it rotted out right here. It's turned itself into a piece of angle iron, because this side of it is not any good. So what I did was I took a 3/16 by 1.5 inch flat bar, where I could weld pretty heavy to these hinges, and then weld the edge and reach up and weld onto these vertical tubes down through here. And I got a couple welds on the inside where I could, just to help it out. I know I have a side ramp on one of my trailers, and I don't use it. I added a side ramp to another guy's trailer because he needed it. But my buddy that I talked to that owns this trailer, he said he doesn't use that very often. So I think by putting the flat bar on there, that's going to extend it enough, and he's going to get some more life out of this thing. So I'd say that's it for this one. I want to thank you for watching, and learn how to work with what you got. That way you always have everything you need.